and welcome to the JP8 report. This is the JP8 report with James Pierce. I am coming to you from Coppers Cove, Texas. This is episode 26. The title of this one is "What About Election Time?" And welcome to the JP8 report. You can always reach me by email at jp8report@gmail.com. Don't forget, before we get started, I come to on a variety of platforms. Don't forget to subscribe, whether you be on Podbean. If you're on Podbean, you have to follow. If you're on Rumble, you have to subscribe also. You got to have a Rumble account, just like you do on YouTube. YouTube, if you subscribe to a page and you hit the little notification bell, before you can do that, you got to have a Google account. So either or, you can replicate it or change it up. But we're on those platforms, and we're on iTunes and iHeartRadio, and there's a variety of them on there. But if you're watching me, you know where to find me at. So this is episode 26, and so what about election time? So the reason why I'm doing this one is because people have always got questions about what they expect, whether they're running or if they're just voting, or doing both. If you're running for office and you don't vote for yourself, there's something wrong. Definitely. I let you know about me. I've ran for elected position 3 times. I ran for city council in 2015 and got elected. I ran for re-election in 2018 for city council. I got beat that race because of a couple of votes I took that was not very popular at all within our city. And I understand that, and we realized right after we took votes, a couple of us did, that it was a very bad vote that we did, and I paid for it. A couple of years later, they did not forget. And then when realizing that what I had done wrong, I didn't wait very long, and I found another position I wanted to run for as on a local college board of trustees, and I ran for that position, and I got elected. It was 3 months after I got beat for office for city council. So sometimes people just bury their head in the sands, like, whoa, what did I do wrong? But I didn't. I went out and did it, and I won very, very handily. And the guy I beat is a very good person, and he's very respected in the community, and I respect him still to this day. I am glad he is where he's at, and I am where I'm at, because like during the pandemic we just went through, the job that he's at, they needed him there, and he did a really good job. About what to do at election time, okay? The first thing is, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid if you're running for office or if you're voting. This is going to be a general podcast right here for voting. If you're running for office, don't be afraid to explain your positions. And why am I saying that? Okay, because you can be Republican, and you can be Democrat, you can be Green, you can be Socialist, you can be Communist. There's a lot of different parties out there, and different states have different requirements for running for office. Okay, all three elections I ran into were non-partisan elections, which means you didn't run as a Democrat, you didn't run as a Republican, you ran as yourself. But I had on many occasions, I had people ask me, well, are you Republican or are you Democrat? Well, they should be able to see it from my stance on issues. Sometimes people ask those questions to set you up for set you up for other questions. Okay. Well, that's cool and stuff, but yeah, at first, the first few times that I got asked that question in 2015, my response was, you know, this is a non-political position, so it doesn't really matter if you're Democrat or Republican. It does matter. Okay. Uh, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, he's the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, told me just about 2 years ago the quickest way for the liberals to take charge of our country is through the city councils and through the board of educations. He's right, because a lot of people just disregard it. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican, but you bring those principles in into that you hold dear to you into the discussions on the future of your political position, the entity that you're in. A friend of mine, he's on a local water board here in the clean area, and he has a girl that got elected right when he got elected. She's a staunch Democrat, and he didn't know that. And when he got sworn in, this girl started talking to him about all these different issues, and they were liberal issues. And he came up to me and said, "Yeah, no, my first meeting was pretty good, except for, man, there's this lady that that got sworn in with me. She was saying some off the wall stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's her. I know her. She's a Democrat. She's a very liberal Democrat." And he said, "I could tell." So your principles follow you wherever you go. Okay, so if you're a Republican, the things in being a Republican that you should be standing for is you should be pro-Constitution, as it is written. You should be pro-family. You should be pro-Second Amendment, which goes with pro-Constitution, right? You should be pro-business. You should be pro-less government. And you should be pro-voting reform legally. That if you have the right to vote, you're voting legally. Okay? Which is voting ID. Okay? Voting only one time and ensure that you only vote one time. A lot of Democrats don't adhere to these ideas. They think like the Constitution is a living document that's always changing. It does not change. It's written as is, and if you want it to change, you pass a constitutional amendment for that. That brings up a lot of arguments sometimes. But I'm in league with the people who believe it was written, it's in stone, it does not change unless there's an amendment to change it. Okay, I'm pro-family. Pro-family. I firmly believe in a nuclear family. There should be a husband and a wife. Okay, it is very hard to raise a family on a one family income. I mean, I can't say it. I don't say it can't be done, because there's a lot of men and a lot of women that can manage. Okay, but there's more than a few that can't. Okay, and it's highly encouraged that families stick together, work their problems out. Okay, I'm pro-life. Pro-life. When 18 days after a baby's conceived, you can hear its heartbeat. If it's alive, why is it that Democrats are so apt to, you can't have, we'll leave it at that, okay? Because I could really cause a stir. But if a baby's heartbeat is beating in 18 days, it's a human life, and it's a living, breathing creature. Okay, intelligent, it's sentient being, ready to be just like us. Okay, it's just got to finish forming. and pro-business? Are you out there wanting the government to dictate how businesses operate, or do you want the free market to determine how businesses operate? Um, I own a business, and I can understand where business can come, government can come along to help businesses out, but you have to read that fine print and make sure they're not trying to entrap you with the grants and stuff. If I ever apply for a grant in my business, that's one of the questions: what's in it for the government? What's in it for these people that want to give you this money? Because sometimes they'll sneak that stuff in you, like what they did with this American Jobs Act a while ago. I think it was American Rescue Plan. That's it. Where if the states receive the money from the federal government, they can't for 3 years lower their state property tax. Amendment number 10 guarantees states' rights. It's their right to raise and lower their tax rate. Okay. Let's see. Now, and do you care? Do you actually care about any of those? If you're a Democrat listening, do you care? What is your stance? Okay. I may be conservative, but I do believe we got Republicans, we got Democrats out there. I got people in my family that are Democrat. They have the right to speak. They have the right to debate. They don't have the right to keep me from talking. Okay? They don't have the right to keep you from talking. That First Amendment right, I believe, comes through the Constitution, and I do believe that it flows not just from the government to the people, it's people to the people. And out whether it be a newspaper or social media account or whatever, they should not stymie someone from actually being able to speak their mind and getting their point across. It's never been like that. I was listening to the news earlier today. The people at Project Veritas, they're about to sue the pants off of a cable network, a news channel, so-called news channel, and I'm not naming them, and a social networking site that they're about to get sued also. They are being sued for defamation because they're lying about about Mr. O'Keefe, and he's going to go at him. Looks like he's going to win. And there's other organization, Judicial Watch people. They are awesome. If you have never listened to Tom Fitton and Judicial Watch, you need to. Okay, he knows he's a very good lawyer, very conservative, and he demands action. Okay, and he's gone after Republicans and Democrats. So transparency goes both ways. Okay, they people like to hide behind stuff, but if it's not classified, it should be out in the open. So do you care? Do you care either way? As a voter or as a candidate, okay? And if you're a candidate, don't forget to file your elections reports. Every state's different. In Texas, you got to file a 30-day report. You got to file an 8-day report. And you got to file a final report or a quarterly report or a semi-annual report. Depends on if you're raising funds or not. So running for office, or if you're voting, you need to know there's different types of primaries. You have a jungle primary. I don't know what the specific term of it is, but there's a jungle primary, there's an open primary, and there's a closed primary, and then there's a caucus. Okay, a caucus is old school, where a bunch of people get together to discuss issues. They debate their positions for the candidates they want, and then they take a vote, and they harvest all the votes together, and then they decide who gets the delegates from that caucus. Okay, that's very archaic. Most of them, like I think, only like 2 or 3 states even do that anymore. you have a closed primary. A closed primary is you have to declare your party before you can go in and vote. In Texas, it's like that. If your voter registration is empty and on the line of it, and you say I want to vote for in the Democratic primary, they write Democratic primary, and for the rest of the time on that registration, you have to vote in the Democratic primaries. You can't vote in Republicans, and vice versa. If you're Republican and you want to vote in the Democratic primary, you can, but you're stuck after that. Okay. We've had instances in Texas where Democrats won't even vote in their own primary because they didn't have no one to vote for, and they didn't like the opponent of a local Republican, so they would cross over and purposely vote in the Republican primary to get their candidate that's a Republican over the edge. They keep his opponent from winning. It happens. Okay. But they do that. Open primary is when on primary day, the Democrats, Republicans have the primary at the same time and just walk on in there and vote. Okay? No restrictions. Then you have a jungle primary. Okay? You mainly see the jungle primary in, let's see, you see it up. Okay, definitely California, Louisiana, and I do believe maybe in Georgia. Okay, that might just be in special elections, but mainly in California you see it, where you may have 10 candidates run for office, and during the primary, and you have like 10, 15 candidates. The top 2 candidates that receive votes, they proceed to the general election. So if you have 2 Democrats and 7, let's say 7 Republicans, and the top 2 Democrats have enough votes together to smoke out the other Republicans, one of those 2 Democrats will be the elected representative from that area on election day. That's been done several times. I don't think it's right. It should be able to separate between the 2, but they do it, and their people in their state, their representatives actually voted to make that happen. So that's, and until the day that they get more Republicans and a Republican governor in to make sure that it's changed, it's going to be like that. So that means you got to run a smarter race to actually run for office. And sometimes, what does that mean? Run one Republican and get as many votes together to ensure that you're in the first or second slot of that race. I don't know. I don't like it either. I'd like the traditional way. Let's see what else we got. You have nonpartisan elections. In Texas, unless you are, I believe, I'm not sure on the population of the municipality. Okay, but because I know in Texas, some cities have Republican, Democratic identification on mayoral elections and city council elections, and some of them they don't. Here where I live at, in Coppers Cove and in Killeen, Nolanville, Harker Heights, everyone runs on, and we're 125,000 in population below. Here at Coppers Cove, we're about 35,000. And nobody, we do nonpartisan type of elections where you just run and get elected. Okay. Like I was saying earlier, just because you're in a nonpartisan type of election, you're still conservative or you're liberal. You still hold those principles, and you're fooling people if you're going to say, "Well, it's a nonpartisan election." I just keep those feelings to myself. You need to make them known because people want to know if you're honest or not. That's a good indicator of how you're going to be. And if you want to hide the fact if you're a Democrat or hide the fact that you're a Republican, maybe you don't need to be running for office. Okay, it's a sad fact, but you know, you should know how other members that you're going to be serving with, you need to know how they stand, and they need to know how you stand. And the voters, very importantly, need to know how their candidates stand before they actually go out and vote for them. Okay, and when it comes to voting time, you have early vote and you have election day vote. Um, some in Texas, I believe, is 2 weeks prior to election day. You can actually vote early. Okay, Monday through Friday. Sometimes it's alternated like a half week prior to that. And Tuesdays are always 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. In some places, you can actually vote on Saturday and Sunday. It all depends on the city you're in, but people have adequate time to vote. But it depends on what city you live in and what state you live in. Some states don't have early voting. I do believe Delaware and New Hampshire don't have early voting. They have day of voting. In Texas, we have early vote 2 weeks prior or 2.5 weeks prior. And then we have election day. There's some places that have like 70 days early voting. That's stupid. Well, maybe I exaggerate a little bit on that. But it all falls back on the people who you vote for. On an earlier podcast, Georgia just reformed the way that they're voting, and it makes sense and it's fair. And then you have all these Democrats jump all over their governor and their legislature about reforming the way people vote, but I don't think these people actually read what was in that bill, because if you read it, it makes a lot of sense. People have more of an opportunity to go vote than what they had before, and it codified a lot of it. Okay, here in Texas, well, one of the things is like within 150 feet you can't politic. Okay, and then what they were doing, having people passing out food and water, and it was like have a candidate's name on it, so they'll see it. And it's like, oh yeah, my candidate gave me this food to give you. And what you're doing is you're campaigning for that person. Here in Texas, you can't do that. The deal here in Texas is you have to be at least 100 feet from that front door of where the election place is, where you can't put any signs within that 100 foot. You can't make any videos within that 100 feet. If you're a candidate for office, you can't even have a cell phone on you when you go in to vote in the first place. And if you do, you carry it in your purse or in your back pocket of your pants or in your jeans or in a suit jacket. You're absolutely wrong, because you cannot have any electronic devices on you. And you better not be carrying James Pierce for city council water bottles and giving them out, or CTC representative or governor or whatever. You can't do that. Okay. I know you can wear campaign material for who you're voting for, but you can't be actively campaigning for people to vote for or vote against. Okay, that's fair as fair. In Texas, we have voter ID, which is really good. And if you don't have a driver's license or a license to carry, and you need something, you can get a state ID card, and I do believe they're free or they're very inexpensive. Okay, they did away with the capability of being able to drive in and vote like they were doing in Harris County in November. I cannot believe they attempted and got away with some of it. That should never have been authorized to happen in the first place. We don't have a straight party voting in Texas anymore. Used to be, and that was a Democratic initiative many decades ago. to ensure the democratic vote in the state of Texas, and we finally got rid of it. And I believe 2020 was our first year not to have a single party voting, and they were really afraid that people wouldn't go vote down ballot. Governor Abbott even put out a campaign ad to remind people to vote all the way down ballot to ensure people were voting. That's a smart idea. That's good use of your money and stuff. And I agree. I don't think. I mean, it's a lazy way of voting. Just go in and check one mark, and then you go down and vote for your council members and propositions and stuff. But you know what? This ensures that everyone, if you're voting, that you actually see the name of everybody you want to place a ballot mark on. Okay, whether it be electronic or filling in the little circles. Okay, that was a really smart idea that Texas came up with. It took the partisanship out. It eliminated another Democrat, a relic from decades gone by that we needed to purge from the system. Okay, and as for early voting, I'm not a fan of early voting. I do believe that you should have election day should be a state holiday, and whether it be in May or November, when people usually in Texas municipal elections are in May, and all the other elections are held in November. In Copper's Cove for city council elections are always in November, but like in Killeen, right now they're doing early voting right now, and their election day is May 1st. Okay, if you didn't know. I'm probably talking to people in Alaska or something, and they're not like, what does that have to do with me? But I would be, my compromise on that would be 1 week early vote, and on election day make it a state holiday, and so everybody would have off and have time to go vote. And then also I would make every day that says early vote 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's what I would do. Okay, so I'm not as fanatical as some people think I am. I might be fanatical about the people having to work the polls, because they're like, James, you're making me work a minimum of 12 hours. You know what? I believe people should have a chance to vote, because there's a lot of people actually work during the day and need that extra time to be able to get in there and throw a vote in there. Maybe it'll raise the percentage of people voting in elections, especially off-year elections. People usually look at gubernatorial election years or presidential election years and say, oh, we had a 45% turnout, which sucks. Okay, but when you have those municipal elections, that usually the rate of vote usually falls to 5 to 10%, and that's pathetic. Okay, and it's like, let's give people the chance to get out there and voice their rights and do their civic duty and vote. I'm good with that. Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed the podcast today. Don't forget to subscribe to the different platforms. Leave me a comment. Few people leave me comments. Most people just watch, which I'm good with that too. But throw me some comments your way, okay? And then look for my next podcast. It'll probably be in a couple more days. Let me put forth a good agenda for my next episode. Since this is episode 26, the next one will be episode 27. And I just found out a couple days ago that I do Rumble also, and Rumble is gonna eventually in the next couple months let people do live broadcast, and maybe I can start doing some live podcasting on Rumble. That would be cool. Okay, but we'd have to see how that goes. But yeah, throw me some comments, and don't forget to subscribe and like it and share it. Okay, let's get this information out to people so they learn about what it is to be conservative, and how good we are for the country, and how compassionate we are. People look at conservatives as like they're nonsense people. All they want to do is strip away people's rights. No, we don't. We want to give people rights, okay? And your right is you, and and your right is to live your life the way you want to live it, okay? You can live your life with tattoos or blue hair or green hair, or you could be like me, okay? Just have, if you didn't know, I got my hair cut, okay? But I feel a lot better too. But let's take our country back and do what's right, okay? Y'all have a great day. This is James with the JP8 report. I'm out.